Originally, my wife and I started Calling All Crows to bring fans and musicians together. Um, I think I grew up really loving protest music and music that had a message, and as my career continued, I wanted to bring more of that, like strengthen the bond between activism and music more, and so we started our organization um, to do these service projects before shows and get lots of people involved, because we figured if this many people are coming to the shows, maybe a section of that group would actually like to do something active during that day if they have the time and the interest. So it was a way to kind of engage a number of people who are going to the show in something else that kind of had to do with whatever campaign we were interested in that time. We've been focusing on refugees for the last couple of years, but we've also focused on gay marriage and the abolishment of the death penalty, so it's kind of changes year by year. I had a friend who was convicted of murder when he was 19, and he was I got to know him while he was in jail for 20 years, and I just got to know him in the last year of his when he was in prison, and he was executed, and we really worked for him to get a retrial and get a fair trial, because he was a black man in the south of the U.S. and had everything against him, and we worked really hard as a band and as even with our fan base, doing different protests and writing letters, and I really felt like I kind of was almost too optimistic about things. I thought he would never be killed, and I think that night when he was executed was just one of those pivotal times for us, in terms of we had put all this work into fighting for his innocence and for his retrial, and all that work at one point when we heard he was executed felt like it was for nothing, because so then you have to make that decision about how are you effective? Is it important to do what we do? Are we making any difference? And then I think there's moments where you look in the mirror and you say, is what we're doing, is it worth it? And I think ultimately we decided for Troy Davis, who was killed, we don't want his death to be in vain, and so we need to keep fighting for other people like him, in the hopes that that person, when that there'll be less and less Troy Davises as time goes on. Yeah, my family is so supportive. I think they know that Sybil, my wife, and I are interested in social issues as well as music. So, you see my family here today. So that kind of tells you that they're. I think my parents are both socially conscious people, and I think both of them kind of have over their lives have stood up for what they believed in. And when I was 10, my sister and I were taken by my grandfather, my mom's dad, to a pro-choice rally in Washington, D.C. That was my first protest, and it was thousands and thousands of people, and it was also the first time that my sister and I had been with my grandfather, just the three of us. You know how, like with your grandparents, it's kind of rare that you're just with them, right? And not with like your parents or other people. And it was just the two of us and him. That's probably the only time we were with him alone.
Yeah.
And at that time, because that was so many years ago, that as a man of that generation, to want to take a bus from New Jersey down to Washington D.C. to march for the women's right to choose, that's so rare. Yeah. And so and I didn't really know. I was just kind of up for an adventure and went along. But that was kind of the first time I'd seen a protest of large scale. And you had like the big pro-choice march, and then you had like the pro-lifers who were like showing pictures of fetuses and like kind of like in your face. You know, it was like the standoff at some points along the march. So that was another education. But I guess that's a way to answer that. You know, this kind of thing has always kind of been in my family. You know, music, activism, and service.
Okay.
This world is so unequal, right? If you're born into this country or this region, your life is so much easier than if you were born somewhere else. You know, I think we're so lucky, right? So, and I think traveling and different friends I've met, you get a feel for that, where life is very different for most of the human race than it is for us here in Western Europe or, you know, from the United States. So I think just the combination of traveling and talking to people and experiencing certain things in Zimbabwe and Northern Ireland myself, while also hearing stories from uncles who are in Vietnam or friends who are in the Iraq and Afghani wars, that has all been really, I guess, infused my music and songwriting. And I think as a kid, I just always loved protest music anyway. So like, it all kind of comes together kind of seamlessly for me. And just in that, many times there's no distinction between social issues and music for me. It's all kind of the same thing. One of the reasons we started this too is that I know for myself it's hard to sometimes take that step out of your regular life to kind of open yourselves up to a different perspective. And I think that's why kind of music is good, because it gets people out to something they wouldn't otherwise have gone to, you know? If you know, like a band you listen to is going to be there or whatever, maybe you'll go. But I would encourage people like once a month or something, you know, even a very little amount, just to step outside of their regular routine and think about like maybe what else interests them, and if it's poverty or if it's politics, if it's the refugee crisis, maybe do a little research about what's going on in your town or somewhere place near to you, and go and volunteer for an hour, and just to get that added perspective in life. Because it's so easy, I speak for myself here, it's really easy to just go like this and kind of cruise along your routine. But it's sometimes I have to kick myself in the ass to do something different, so to get some of that extra, to bring
kind of to do something new that helps.
yeah, and it's always it's hard to get there, but once you're there, you're happy you're there, you know.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes it's hard to get out the door or to like step off your path, you know.